Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or from whatever time zone you may be calling us in from today. Thank you for joining. My name is Rebecca Cronin, and I'm one of the customer success managers here with the Altair Data Analytics team. The customer success team, we're here as another point of contact for you to reach out at any time with any questions, concerns you may have regarding Altair solutions, or if you're unable to get a hold of your account manager. We're very excited you're joining us today for our Ask the Expert AI Studio AI Hub webinar series. Our goal for these sessions is to provide you an open time slot where you may freely drop in, and we'll do our very best to provide assistance in answering any and all of your questions after we demonstrate our starting topic segment. So we'll begin the session in just a few minutes, but before we dive in, a few little housekeeping items. You should have a control panel in where you'll be able to locate a handout section, which is a copy of today's PowerPoint that I'm displaying here. It has a list of some helpful web links and resources for you around AI Studio and AI Hub. You'll also see a question panel. This is the opportunity where you can submit your questions that you have regarding AI Studio or AI Hub. It does not have to be about our topic today. Anything that you've been wanting to kind of query and get more answers about. We'll do our best to answer those questions during the session, and should we run out of time, we will get back to you through a support ticket or directly, but allow us 2 to 5 business days in doing so. So now I'd like to introduce you to our expert, Jeff Chowaniec. He is one of our senior data scientists. He's worked for almost 10 years in various technical support roles that also encompass the RapidMiner team. He's one of the original specialists from them, and we're very fortunate to have his expertise to share and provide to us today. He's been very helpful to our customers with not just internally, but also off-site as well. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff, where we're going to dive into the topic of Python Learner. So let me select Jeff to make him presenter. Handing the reins over. All right, Jeff, I see AI Studio client.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about using the Python learner operators in AI Studio. So as you all know, I imagine if you're attending this webinar, you know that AI Studio is a data science machine learning platform for solving just about any data science problem. With that being said, there is a pretty extensive library of machine learning operators. So if I come into here and go to modeling, I can open up predictive. Any given folder is going to have a set of operators I can use to train a model. I also can go into segmentation and do some unsupervised learning, or I can go into time series, look at my forecasting folder, and I can pull any of those forecasting models. So there is a large, robust machine learning library that I can extend via my extensions if I download certain libraries. However, we do not cover everything. We have a lot of important critical algorithms for solving data science. But if you take open source tools like Python, for example, there are cutting edge machine learning algorithms being developed all the time. And so what we've done is laid a framework for bringing those algorithms into RapidMiner as an operator via the Python learner operator. So I want to talk a little bit about what that operator is, what it does, and show you how we can leverage it here in AI Studio. First, I'm going to give a couple of examples of solving problems in Studio. So I always have a good old classic, the Titanic data set. I throw it in here. I split my data into a train and testing set. So I just have a 70-30 split. I send that data into a gradient boosted tree that trains a GPT for me. and I apply that model and I get a performance score out. So if I run the rest of this, it trains the model. I can cycle through those trees. I can see the applied model here. I can look at the overall performance of that model. Pretty standard machine learning pipeline here in AI Studio. And then I could do the same thing with different algorithms throughout our library. Here I'm just doing a classification. Here I can run a detect outliers, specifically the isolation forest. So when I run this, it gives me an outlier prediction right here. Then so that's my unsupervised side. If I wanted to look at something like retrieve monthly milk production and forecast that value, I could drop in an ARIMA algorithm. So I'm using a P of 6, a Q of 6. I just run this and my apply forecast gives me my forecasted values right here. So I can see it combined as a single series, and then I've got my predictions here and then my standard series here. So I can easily build pipelines to either do supervised or unsupervised learning, forecasting, etc. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that these algorithms don't quite get me to where I want to go, whether it's a performance issue or I want to shy away from learners that are a bit more of a black box. Maybe I want more explainability, what have you. There's an algorithm that you like using from Python that we want to leverage in order to make some better predictions. How can we do that? Well, traditionally, you could, if I search for Python here, traditionally I could just use the execute Python. I could write a script to train a model. I could write a script to apply a model and just use this. But instead, what I want to do is basically create a Python operator. So I can grab my Python learner here. And basically what I can do is I can create a script to perform whatever model training or supervised or unsupervised learning I want to do. And then I can create a JSON output as well that creates parameters for me to send into that Python script. So you can see I've got parameters listed here in this setting. I could say this is, I don't know, selection and hit apply. And so you can see it changes that first parameter to selection. I can say like, let's do XGBoost maybe, what have you. I don't have a script in here, but the idea is I can configure my parameters via JSON, and then I can build a script. So in the event that I already have stuff written up, like for example, in my VS Code, I've got a couple of scripts here, one for doing my classification. So I could easily come in here and let's say delete this. So I can put in my script. I could come in and just say light GBM classification. Now I could go through, for example, if I go here, I could say my name is just going to be light GBM. And then I could go through and edit all of my parameters here, depending on what I needed for that operator. Luckily, I have a lot that's required for this one, so I came prepared. And what I'm going to do is just load in all of these parameters I'm going to need for my light GBM. So if I jump back to Studio, I can come in here and I can load all of these parameters. So once I hit apply, I'll get all of these parameters out. So now I can tweak this light GBM and effectively train the model I want, just like I would if I selected my gradient boosted tree, where I can change my maximal depth, my number of trees, etc. I can do the same thing with my light GBM here. I can change my learning rate, my maximum depth, etc. For it to train that GBM, the same way I would do my gradient boosted tree. Now, there are some requirements here. For example, I need Python to run this. So if I take a look at my script up here, I need pandas, scikit-learn, and then I need the light GBM as well. So I do need a couple of packages. Now, what we recommend, so when setting up Python, if I go into settings and go to preferences, there are a couple of ways I can give RapidMiner AI Studio access to Python. One is to manage my own content environment. So I leverage the open source MiniForge where I set up my own environments, or I can point directly to a Python binary. So if I've just installed Python 3.12, I can point to that. I can download my own packages, etc. If I go the Conda route, this allows me to select any of the environments that I have set up on my machine. So the one I'm going to default to is machine learning for this case. So I do need a Python environment. So in order to run all of these, if I do a Conda list in my MiniForge prompt, you can see I have the scikit-learn here, and I think I need to go L for light GBM, but I also have that installed. There's a bunch of packages. I'll need PyArrow as well. So there are a bunch of prerequisites. And what I assume is I'm not losing you here, because anyone who needs to leverage Python is at least familiar with downloading packages, maybe a little familiar with environment management. But at the end of the day, I can either manage those packages myself by pointing to my Python installation, or I can use something like MiniForge or Anaconda to do package managing. So here I can select my machine learning. I can test this. It'll run a little test to make sure that my environment is good to go. It is, which looks good. So once I have that selected, now I could just run this algorithm. So I could go right to my gradient boosted tree and disable that, come over here and say, here's some training data, here's a model. And what you'll notice is in my VS Code Studio, my classifier has a module and it has an apply model module. So when I plug in data into that TRA input port, it's going to run my training program. And then when I pipe the result, that model into, so I take this same model and pipe it into, whoops, wrong window, pipe it into my apply model. My apply model uses PyArrow to apply, to run that apply function as well. So it's kind of a 2-in-1. It gives our apply model operator. This is no different from the same apply model that applied my gradient boosted trees. So it allows me to use my apply model operator to apply my apply function that I wrote in this Python script to the model coming out of here, which is pretty great. So the way, kind of another under the hood thing, is the way this apply model works is it's just a library of apply model scripts. So it's one operator that calls basically a ton of individually written operators. So like if I train a naive Bayes from our library, there's an apply model script for Bayesian. There's an apply model script for my gradient boosted tree. There's an apply model script for my random forest. So what we're doing is we're just providing an extra one to this library to apply any light GBM that I train using this operator. So what's even better is I have all of my script in one place, and my apply model leverages that function in my script. Super handy, really convenient. So now, instead of running this gradient boosted tree, I can run this. It's going to spin up my machine learning environment. It's going to run that algorithm. And I forgot to connect my outputs here, which is a super big bummer. So I'm going to rerun this because it ran very quickly. But now I'm doing basically the same workflow, but I produce a light GBM instead of my gradient boosted tree. all running in Python instead of Java on AI Studio, I get my my applied model out, which we saw looks exactly like my GBT. And if I go over, I get a performance here where my overall accuracy is slightly better than the gradient boosted tree we were using before. Now, a couple percentage points doesn't move the needle a whole lot, but it can make the difference in certain use cases, especially use cases where performance and F measure might need to be as close to 100% as possible, like fraud detection, etc. Or if I need just a better performing model that's more explainable than my gradient boosted tree or like GVM from the Python library. If I have, if I'm in the insurance field, for example, everything needs to be explainable. I can't be relying on any black boxes. So this just really expands the availability for learners here. What's great is it's pretty seamless. So I'm still using my apply model and my performance operator on top of that, because this generates these parameters. If I wanted to do more things, like I covered, or I think my colleague actually covered last month, how to do parameter optimization. So I could, for example, go the optimize parameters grid. I could take this setup, put it inside of here, get in here. So then I could come into edit parameter settings. I could select one of those parameters I've just created, and I could optimize this value. So I'm not, I basically can use our RapidMiner operators with these Python machine learning algorithms pretty seamlessly. So I could drop this inside of like a hyperparameter tuning. So I don't need to build really complex Python scripts that do all of my hyperparameter tuning, my model management. All of that can still just be done in AI Studio. It's just that my learner is, 38 lines of Python code. And I can do hyperparameter tuning and all that good stuff via Studio. I can stick it inside of a cross validation. I can set up any custom validation steps I want. So that's the advantage here. And now you can see this in action. I can do this with other algorithms as well. Like instead of doing this detect outlier, if I wanted to go the learner route again, so if I drop in my Python learner, my training data is coming in, I'm going to send my model out. This time around, I could go to Studio or Visual Code, VS Code, and grab my isoforest from here. I'm going to Control A, Control C, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I can paste that, and then I'm going to have the same setup here. I'll need to grab my JSON to define my isoforest parameters. And now if I send that out, if I select my Python learner, I can do my min samples, contamination, etc. But if I run this, there's default values for these, so I'm not going to fill those in. But I forgot an operator in here, but I should have this output right here. So this spits out my anomaly score for me. So but the idea is I can do supervised or unsupervised learning or anomaly detection. I can even replace my forecasters, because while I do have a Python learner, what I also have, if I search for Python, is a Python forecaster as well. So if I want to rely on like the Facebook profit forecasting, I can do that. And our apply forecasting model works with that as well. So if I come here, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to snag my Facebook profit here, and I'm going to send that into this. And I think I have just a really small JSON setup as well. If I do this, I can say has indices, and you'll notice I've got optional parameters set up in there as well. So if I hit has indices, it gives me the indices attribute. I can come in and say, hey, our time series is prod, our indices attribute is date. These work just like the drop-down menus for normal studio operators. And then I can run this, and my apply forecast algorithm, if I jump back to VS Code, you can see I have a separate, here's my actual forecaster, and here's my apply. So I call this same RM apply with my forecaster. Got it. I forgot to change this to machine learning. I think this will run. I don't think I'm missing a package on this one. Got it. Huh. Learning test. Seems my environment is busy right now, so I can't run that, but I can publish that. I can run this Python interpreter. I'll give it one more try, and I think something is busy. But the idea here is I can use the Python forecaster to do my forecasting models, and it's the same setup. I build my script. I then use the JSON to create my parameters. Now, what's cool about all of this, you'll notice there's an extra button I haven't used yet, which is the save button over here. So if I hit the save button, like if, for example, I go to my light GBN, I hit the save button, I can go to Ask the Expert, select the month, and then I'll grab the operators. I can give this a name and give it a save. But what this actually does for me is it saves them as operators I can call. So if, for example, I wanted to drop in a new classifier, I can just click and drag this right from there. It gives me this as an operator. So I can't see this script anymore. I can just select what environment I want to run, and then I have all of my parameters available. So this means that I could write a classifier. I could then send this object to my coworker or keep it on an AI hub, etc. And I could have a repository of learners that I can just expand at will, which is great. So then if I'm just going to disable this, so now I can drag that directly from my repository. And if I run this, it will train that light GBM for me, which worked great. And then, so basically, I'm extending my machine learning library with algorithms I'm grabbing directly from Python. So it's twofold. The classifier, the Python learner allows me to create and run, and then I can also save and store. So I can save that learner and use it in other workflows. This is probably a much more advanced topic for the first person. Like I said, if you're connecting because you're interested in learning how to use more Python in AI Studio, I think it goes without saying that you'd be a little familiar with Python code in general, and as well as like package management and environment management, etc. Bit more of an advanced topic, but I thought it was worth covering in terms of stuff we don't normally show all the time or might not be readily available to you. But it's good to know that it exists, know a little bit of what's going on under the hood and how it works. But yeah, all in all, the biggest takeaways are I can extend my libraries with anything I want from Python without having to use the execute script operator. And then I can turn these learners or forecasters into my own operators, which is really handy. I can then share them, etc. And I could have them on the AI Hub, what have you. So you can create your own library of machine learning Python operators. Okay. That is it. I think I took up a little bit more than the 20 minutes I'm supposed to, but I don't think that's a big deal. So we can turn it over to questions.
Now, if you don't have a question about the topic, if there's something else within AI Studio you want to cover review, please feel free to put that question in the panel, or if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute your mic and you can ask live. If there's something you're working on and you're trying to tackle or trying to fine tune, this would be a great opportunity to ask. Well, while folks are trying to think of questions, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and launch the poll question. So you'll see this pop up in your screen. If you have your screen expanded in full view, you'll have to minimize it in order to respond. So help us decide the topic for next month. So would you like to cover deploying a process via the AI Hub? Would you like to review over web scraping? Would you like to cover handling images? And if you select the other, if there's a different category that you'd like to cover, if you enter that there, then we can add it to our voting block. For example, the web scraping was a topic that was suggested and it made it to the voting block. You'll notice you'll only be able to select one option. So select the most interesting or favorite thing you'd like to cover and review. And so we'll do a countdown. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And web scraping was the popular vote. Okay. So has anyone thought of any questions while we were thinking of that come to mind? Again, you can raise your hand or you can throw it into that little question panel. Well, if nothing comes to mind, let me then give Jeff a little break and let me share my screen real quick. So again, in the handouts panel, if you download the PowerPoint, you'll see within that document, there's some helpful web links. So how to contact our support, the user community for resources. There is, blog posts and discussion threads that might be of interest. There's also our academy to get your certification in AI Studio or AI Hub. Oops, went backwards one step. Again, our little monthly series here that we're offering, our Ask the Expert. There's also the YouTube channel, but I don't think I included that. I'll have to do that next time, but there is a how-to YouTube channel. So when I get a chance, I'll try to get that into the chat discussion thread. So again, right here, you can contact our technical support support for any questions, concerns you might have, or you can throw it out into the community and see some of the experts there. This is just showing the community site, looking for documentation. You can find it as well in the community from the documentation section. Academy to continue your learning journey. The discussion posts up in the top would take you to the Learn. So we have some learning modules here as well through our e-learning program. But I know Academy has like a deeper list. Marketplace is where you'll find our latest client update. You can come in here. We'll never push out the update. You'll have the opportunity to go and grab it. And then session-wise, we have our next Ask the Expert, May 14th, that we have coming up. So again, this is in the handout section that you can grab. Let me make Jeff presenter again. So in case anyone has any questions that come to mind. And this is your hour to, and we have a half hour remaining. Don't want to end early. We can just hang around and see if there's anything that you guys like to cover. So any projects, I know there's a couple that are online. Is there things that you're trying to work on that you're trying to solve, or any concerns when trying to build out your model process? So Jeff, really silly question from my side. When you have AI Studio, can you just kind of cover what the different menu items and options are, the layout of the program? I know it's probably very fundamental or basic. Like those icons at the top.
Yep. So there are two UI items. There are panels and there are views. So views are like different components, right? So when I'm in the design view, I'm going to build a workflow. I'm going to design something on the process window. This is my canvas. My results, anything that goes into these result nodes, whether it be models, data sets, performance vectors, etc., those will go to my results view. So when I run a workflow and I send something to a result node, I will visualize this object here in the results view. So when I run it, it finishes, it will always kick you to this results view. So this is really for exploring results. So I can look at my performance, etc. The other two are optional components. I can perform turbo prep, which is like a hybrid of the design and results. For doing turbo prep, I can go to auto model, but these are different components. These views do different things. So these completely change my UI. Within design and results, I can manage what gets displayed. So if I go to my design view and go to view and I do restore default view, if you were to load AI Studio for the first time, you would be open to this. You'd have your process window, a repository panel, an operators panel, parameters panel, and the help window. You can move all this stuff around. So for example, I can tab my help and parameters panel. I can tab my operator and repositories panel, which is just how I like to work. I like to see the bigger view. I tend to have a lot of projects going on, or I just have a lot of extensions. So when I search something, I'll have a lot of operators to pick from. So I like to expand those. Now I can add or remove panels as well. So if I go to show panel here, a bunch of panels I use often are like the context panel. This determines variables of the workflow I'm currently editing. So I can attach data to this input port. I can define where these result nodes store objects, or I can create inherent variables. So I can create a macro called start time, and then I can like define the start time of this work, or what have you. So I can create a bunch of variables about this workflow from that panel. I could go to my macros panel, which will display any inherent stuff that's getting tracked by my workflow or any macros my workflow is creating. I also like to tab this with my process panel. Another useful one as well is the log. So whenever I'm doing a lot of Python stuff, if I use the print function in a Python script, it will send that information to my log. So if I go here, if I print anything, it'll go to that log. I think I screwed up my view, so I'm just going to restore it to default. There we go. So now if I go to view, show panel, I could add my macros panel and my log panel as well. There we go. So I could then tab these. I'm going to bring them back because that's just my normal working canvas that I like. So that's what each of these are. These are panels in a given view. My views are basically just different components of AI Studio. So if I go into results, I could do the same thing. Like if I go to view, show panel, I could actually bring in the repository panel to this view. What I really want to do is put it on the side of this, but it's not going to let me do that, is it? There we go. So I could stick my repository panel over here. So if there is an object that I want to open, I don't know where I have objects to open, but if there was something I wanted to open, like if I go into this web app churn and go into the auto model, go to the decision tree, if I wanted to open that simulator, I could open it. So I don't have to be in my design view and access the repository and then open it. I could have my repository panel open in my results view and in my design view. So I can control what panels are available between my different views. So that's a kind of a high level UI explainer. Hopefully that's what you were asking for, Rebecca.
Yes. Thank you. And then at the top, very basic, right? Just beginner. Looks like there's a brand new sheet, which is probably the canvas and folder. Okay.
This will just create a new workflow for me. I can save, I can open a given workflow from here. All of these functions I can do just by right clicking on my repository as well. So like that opens a workflow. I can do Control N to start a new blank process. And then I could store it as well. So if I like right click here, I could do store process here. So a lot of these functions I can just do either by hotkeys or shortcuts. Here in Studio as well.
And like those recommended operators below, was that just automatic or did you add those down there?
Yep, so the recommended operators are a part of the wisdom of crowds, which is a function that you can enable in your settings. But basically what it does is as I place operators into the workflow, like if I do a retrieve, you'll see that these change over time. So like maybe I want to do a join, and if I have a join, I probably need another data set, etc. But as I drop more operators in, it gives me different suggestions. And the percentages there are basically saying like, hey, 23% of the people, when they have these operators in this order, they use a cross-validation or an apply model or a store operator. So they're just giving you suggestions based off of workflow examples collected from users that opt into the wisdom of crowds.
Nice. So how does someone opt into that wisdom of crowd?
Yeah, usually on your first startup, it will ask you if you would like to, but it's always available in your settings. So if I go to preferences and go to recommender, I can enable the operator recommendations here.
Nice. All right. Don't know if this gave any ideas for questions for others to ask that are online. I guess something I should have brought up was the academy, right? We always recommend and suggest that. And trying to see if I can bring that window up. Like it provides a recommendation path, right, for folks that may be getting started. I know there's a couple of new folks that had joined. Is there a certain path that you recommend, Jeff? Let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah, that's difficult for me to recommend because I was already 5 years into being a RapidMiner expert when the community or when the academy came into existence. I know, I think the Get Started page, if it's your first time, is a great place to go. If you've used AI Studio in the past, I would go straight to the content library and search for what it is that you want to learn how to do. But if you're like first timer, go through the Getting Started page and just follow that journey. It's hard for me to recommend because I've rarely had a need to go through the academy because I've been using it for so long. And like I said, I was using it for so long before the academy even existed. But I know that Jeff Mergler, who's in charge of the academy, has been curating this over the last half a decade, maybe even more than that, to basically just encompass all of the learning material we've ever created. So if you want to learn how to do something, it'll most likely be in there. And there will be a module that covers it, or an available example and sample data, what have you. But I recommend that Getting Started, if it's your first time using AI Studio at all, that's going to walk you through a lot of the stuff I just did with the UI and how to build a process. So that's the best place to go there. Otherwise, anything in the content library, if you're looking to do something specific, will be helpful. But yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I haven't really gone through the academy because I already knew how to do all of this stuff if the academy existed. So.
Perfect. Again, might be helpful from our basic customers that are here. Well, I know we have 15 more minutes. I don't know if there was any questions that anyone wanted to ask. Don't want to end the session if folks are looking to learn anything. Or we could always, maybe I should make a poll question to vote. Hey, did we end early? That being said, I know it hasn't been any new questions that's come through. And to give those that are here online, we'll give you back your 15 minutes or so. Really thank you for joining us again today for our Ask the Expert webinar series. We hope you found this helpful, and we will get connected next month on web scraping. So have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you then. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.